Welcome back, my friends. It seems like Modern Horizons 3 has come and gone, and now we're getting the next 2 or 3 sets worth of spoilers, but you still want to build the Necrobloom because he is so cool, and you want to do so on a budget. Well, you've come to the right place, because that's exactly what I've got for you here today. Now, first and foremost, you can cast the Necrobloom. For 1 a white, a black, and a green. You get a legendary plant that is a 2/7. The first ability reads, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you get a 0/1 green plant creature token. If you control 7 or more lands with different names, you get a 2/2 zombie instead. Also, land cards in our graveyard have dredge. Now what that basically means is anytime we could draw a card, we can instead mill 2 and get a land card back from our graveyard to our hand. Our commander gives our land cards dredge, but let's run a few more creatures that have dredge on them as well, like Golgari Thug, Greater Moss Dog, and Golgari Brownscale. And for some extra self-mill, we have Grapple with the Past, Grizzly Salvage, Circle of the Land Druid, Druidic Ritual, Death Bonnet Sprout, Satyr Wayfinder, and the Patient Naturalist. Putting cards into our graveyard is the name of the game, so let's run a few cards that benefit us along the way. With Cloakwood Hermit, as long as we control our commander at the beginning of our end step, if a creature card was put into our graveyard from anywhere this turn, we get 2 tapped 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens. Crawling Infestation will mill 2 cards at the beginning of our upkeep. Whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into our graveyard from anywhere during our turn, we get a 1/1 insect creature token. Crop Sigil will help us mill 1 in our upkeep. We can also sacrifice it to return a creature and a land card from our graveyard to our hand. Sand Scout can also help us with some token generation, and Crawling Sensation also helps us mill and create insect tokens. With Turntimber Sower, whenever 1 or more land cards are put into our graveyard from anywhere, we get a 0/1 plant. We can also pay a green and sacrifice 3 creatures to return a land card from our graveyard to our hand. And with Skola Grove Dancer, whenever a land is put into our graveyard from anywhere, we can gain a life. Now, since we will be milling so many cards, there is a good chance we are going to mill some creatures, so we have Dreadhound and Sir Conrad the Grim to deal some damage to all of our opponents while we're doing so. And one of my favorite includes is the Myco Tyrant, mostly for that second block of text. At the beginning of our end step, we get X/1/1 black fungus creature tokens for each time we descended this turn, which essentially means each time a permanent card is put into our graveyard from anywhere, we descend. And since we have so many cards entering our graveyard and leaving, an absolute must is Tormod the Desecrator. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. I feel like this is going to pair very well with our commander's Dredge 2 ability on all of our lands. Now let's look at a few more ways we can get lands out of our graveyard. Whenever Aranis Gloomstalker attacks, we can return target land card from our graveyard to the battlefield. And whenever Kaga Shadow Archdruid attacks, it gains Death Touch until end of turn and mills 2. Also, once during each of our turns, we can play a land card or cast a permanent spell from among cards that were milled this turn. Vengeful Regrowth can return up to 3 target land cards from our graveyard, then we create that many 4/2 green plant warrior creature tokens. With the Mending of Dominaria, we can mill 2, then return a creature card from our graveyard to our hand with the first 2 lore counters, and on the third we can return all land cards from our graveyard to the battlefield. Perennial Behemoth lets us play land cards from our graveyard, and with Tato Farmer, whenever a land ETB is under our control, we get 2 rad counters. Also, we can tap it to put a land card in a graveyard that was milled this turn onto the battlefield under our control tapped. Now, since our commander has a landfall ability, let's get some extra lands onto the board with Summer Bloom, Elvish Pioneer, Skyshroud Ranger, Scaled Herbalist, Colony Heart Expedition, Llanowar Scout, Krosan Wayfarer, On the Rail, Shigeki Jukai Visionary, Diligent Farmhand, Harrow, Spring Bloom Druid, and Sakura Tribe Scout. And for some extra landfall value, we have Retreat to Hagra. Whenever we play a land, we can give target creature +1/+0 and Death Touch until end of turn, or make each opponent lose a life and we gain a life. We also have Felidar Retreat, so every time we play a land, we can get a 2/2 White Cat Beast creature token, or, the better option, put a 1/1 counter on each creature we control. They gain Vigilance until end of turn. And with Retreat to Emeria, we can create a 1/1 White Core Ally creature token, or pump all of our creatures +1/+1 until end of turn. And speaking of pumping the board, we have a few ways to make all of our creature tokens stronger, such as Inspiring Leader. Commander creatures we own have creature tokens you control get +2/+2. Intangible Virtue gives creature tokens we control +1/+1 and Vigilance. And one of my favorite includes Insidious Roots. Creature tokens we control can tap to add 1 mana of any color. Also, whenever 1 or more creature cards leave our graveyard, we get a 0/1 plant, then put a 1/1 counter on each plant we control. Pollen Shield Hair can pump one of our creatures +X/+X, where X is the number of creatures we control. It can also pump all of our creature tokens +1/+1. And probably the most obvious include is Avenger of Zendikar. Whenever it enters the battlefield, we get a 0/1 plant for each land we control, and whenever we play a land card, all of our plants get a 1/1 counter. Now we are including a few ways to get creatures out of our graveyard, like Quest for the Necropolis, Savine's Reclamation, Victimize, Honest Rutstein. I also like that it reduces the casting cost of our creatures, and the Loamcrafter Fawn. Now we do have some support in the form of card draw. First up is Vampiric Rites. I like it because we can sacrifice our creature tokens to keep the draw engine moving. We also have Atrocious Experiment, Corrupted Conviction, Pitiless Carnage, and Minions Murmurs. Now talking about targeted removal, we are including Lethal Scheme, Pile On, Shriek Maw, and Bovine Intervention. And for board wipes, we have Kaya's Wrath, destroy all creatures, and we gain life equal to the number of creatures we control that were destroyed. And an excellent include for any self-mill strategy, we have Terror Tide. All creatures get -X until end of turn, where X is the number of permanent cards in our graveyard. This is cool because it can get around creatures with Indestructible, since it does give them the negative toughness to wipe them out. And there you have it, my friends, the Necrobloom on a budget. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, tell your friends about us, and let me know in the comments what commander you will be building on a budget next.